It was on the coldest night of December when Henry found her, barefoot, shaking, clutching two crying babies in a tattered blanket outside the local gas station. Snow had begun to fall heavier, and most people were hurrying home. But not her. She wasn't going anywhere. Henry was a single father, barely making ends meet with 2 part-time jobs and a 9-year-old daughter, Lily, who was the light of his life. He wasn't looking to save anyone that night. He was tired, worn out, and desperate for rest. But the sight of the girl, so young, so broken, cracked something open in him. "Are you all right?" he asked softly. She looked up with eyes red from crying. "I don't know where to go," she whispered, her voice trembling. "He sold us. My husband, he sold me and my babies." Henry didn't ask questions. He just opened his car door and told her to get in. Her name was Emily. She was just 20 years old, with twin boys barely a year old, Max and Milo. Her story unfolded slowly, over days and nights filled with tears and hushed conversations. She had grown up in foster care, bounced from home to home, always searching for someone to love her. When she met Darren at 18, he seemed like a savior, charming, older, promising stability. But after their wedding, he changed. Control turned to cruelty. The love turned to possession. When the babies came, Darren grew even colder. One day, out of the blue, he told her to get dressed, packed the babies in a bag, and said they were going somewhere special. Instead, he drove her to a rundown house and left her with a stranger, claiming he'd made a deal. Emily managed to escape through a window with the twins while the man who had bought them stepped away to take a call. She walked for hours in the cold, clutching her sons and praying for a miracle. And somehow, that miracle had a name, Henry. Taking Emily in was not easy for Henry. His apartment was small, his budget tighter than ever. Social services warned him of the risks. "You barely qualify as stable for your own daughter," they said. But Henry didn't care. He'd seen enough abandonment in his life to know that love wasn't measured in money. It was measured in sacrifice, in quiet moments of choosing someone else over yourself. Emily insisted on helping. She took care of Lily after school, cooked meals, cleaned, even found small babysitting gigs in the neighborhood. Slowly, the 3 children began to feel like siblings. Lily, once shy and lonely, began to smile more. The twins laughed more than they cried. But the past doesn't let go so easily. One afternoon, 2 men showed up at Henry's door. They were looking for Emily. They claimed to be from Child Protective Services, but something in their eyes made Henry uneasy. When they couldn't produce proper identification, he slammed the door shut. That night, Emily admitted she feared Darren had found her. He wanted the twins. Not because he loved them, but because he was involved in something dark, illegal adoptions, trafficking, God knows what else. And he wasn't the kind of man to just give up. Henry went to the police, but with no proof, they shrugged. "Unless he makes a move, there's nothing we can do." So Henry moved them. He borrowed money, found a tiny fixer-upper house in a different town, and they started over again. Henry worked nights at a warehouse, days as a janitor. Emily watched the kids and took online classes to get her GED. The new beginning was far from easy. There were nights without heat, days with barely enough food. But somehow, through shared strength and deepening trust, they got through. Emily slowly transformed from a scared young mother into a brave woman fighting for her future. And then it happened. A year later, Darren tracked them down. He showed up outside Lily's school, asking questions. A teacher, recognizing something was wrong, called the cops. This time, there was a warrant, for Darren. Emily had shared her story with a social worker months earlier, and a quiet investigation had been unfolding. With Darren's reappearance, everything came together. He was arrested on charges of human trafficking, child endangerment, and fraud. For the first time in a long time, Emily exhaled. The years passed. Henry adopted the twins legally with Emily's blessing, becoming their father in every sense. Emily got her GED, then a scholarship. She studied social work, determined to help others who had fallen through the cracks like she once had. Lily grew into a strong, compassionate young woman, inspired by the strength of her unconventional family. Max and Milo never had to wonder what love looked like. They saw it every day, in Henry's tired eyes, in Emily's warm embrace, in the family dinners they shared even when all they could afford was spaghetti. And then came the moment Henry never expected. On his 50th birthday, the whole family gathered in their modest but love-filled home. There was laughter, handmade cards, and a homemade cake. Emily stood up, holding back tears. "You saved me," she said, voice thick with emotion. "You gave me a home when I had nothing. You gave my boys a father. And you gave all of us love." She pulled a small box from her pocket. Inside was a simple keychain with the word Dad etched in silver. "I know I've called you that for years," she said, "but today, I want to ask, would you walk me down the aisle?" Henry looked around at the faces of his children, each one placed in his life by fate, but kept there by love. He nodded, tears running down his cheeks. "I would be honored." The story of Henry, Emily, and the children they saved, and who saved them right back, reminds us all that family isn't always blood. Sometimes, it's built in the hardest of moments, forged in the fires of pain and sacrifice. And sometimes, the people you least expect can become the heroes who change your life forever.